In this lesson, we're going to continue to discuss layers. If you'd like to follow along, go under the File menu to Open. In the Working Files folder, go to Chapter number 3, Layers of Efficiency, Part 2, and just click Open. Let's start by creating a new layer. If I click on the second docked panel from the top, I open the Layers panel. If that's not where your Layers panel is, make sure to go under the Workspace pop-up, choose Typography, and then Reset Typography. The layer that is being highlighted and has a pen next to its listing is the active layer. If I were to create a new layer, it would be right above that layer. So if I click on the Create New Layer icon down the bottom of the panel, or go under the Options menu in the upper right part of the panel to New Layer, it's going to open the New Layer dialog window. And you can see it's naming it by default Layer number 6 because there are already 5 existing layers. And if I click OK, it's going to create the new layer right above Image Alternate, which was the active layer. And the new layer becomes the active layer. So if I were to draw an object, let me do that, off to the side of the page over here, it's actually going to be in that layer. One of the nice things about the Layers panel is it makes it really easy to change the stacking order of objects. Let me show you. I'm going to go to my Type layer. And you can see I have 3 type objects in that layer. If I were to click on any one of the selection squares to the right of that listing, it's selecting that particular object. So my headline is actually the bottom object in the type layer. If I click on that listing and drag it upward, you can see I'm getting insert lines. If I go all the way up above the top object, this is actually now the top object in that layer. But what if I wanted that object to be in some other layer? Right now, my background is actually locked. I'm going to click the little lock in the lockbox next to the layer and hit the disclosure arrow next to the background listing. And I'm going to drag that type object underneath the bottom object in the background layer. And you can see now that object is behind my background image, so you can't see it. Let me drag it back up. And I'm sure you've noticed by now that the layers are color-coded. So each layer has its own color, and the object's bounding boxes in that layer share that same color. So let me drag from the yellow layer, which is the background, back up into my type layer. And you can see now the object is visible again because it's not hidden by the background. Every layer has its own options. To get to the dialog window for that particular layer, just double click on the layer. So if I double click on, let's say, Image Alternate, it's going to have all of the options for that layer, including the color coding, so I can change the color coding if I want. I can show the layer or lock the layer, which I don't have to come to the options to do. I could click on the visibility eye in the panel itself, or on the empty lockbox next to a particular layer to lock the whole layer. I could also change the visibility of an individual object by clicking on the eye, or lock that individual object by clicking on the lockbox next to that object. So I don't have to come here for show layer or lock layer. Maybe I have a layer that I don't want to print. Maybe I've made notes to myself in that layer. Well, I could uncheck print, and that layer will not print. I'm going to recheck it. Also, I can make it so the guides in a particular layer are not shown, just by simply unchecking Show Guides. Or I could lock all the guides in a particular layer. Some people actually will have a separate guides layer, and then lock all the guides in that layer. Let me hit cancel. I'm going to turn off image alternate by simply clicking on the visibility eye. And you can see there's another image right under that was hidden by the image alternate layer. So you can have alternates for your layout in a different layer. Why don't we go down to the images layer, which is where that image is that we're still seeing, and double click. There's something that I didn't cover in the layers options, which is suppress text wrap when layer is hidden. What is that about? Well, why don't I not check it for now and just click OK? And turn off the visibility of images just by simply clicking the visibility eye. Well, that is really kind of strange. Let me zoom in a little bit closer. The type is still wrapping around an object that you can no longer see because the layer is hidden. Let me turn it back on. Double click on images and check suppress text wrap when layer is hidden. And I bet you know what that's going to do already. If I click OK and then turn off the visibility of the images layer, the text is no longer wrapping around an object I can't see. Let me just zoom out to fit my page. Command 0 on a Mac, Control 0 on a PC. And I'm going to select everything. I'm just going to hit Command A on a Mac, Control A on a PC. And I'm going to open a brand new document. I'm just going to go to File, New, Document. And I'm just going to use the defaults. But before I do that, let me go back into Layers of Efficiency Part 2, and I'm going to go under the Options menu, because I just wanted to show you I have Paste Remembers Layers checked. So if I copy anything from this layout and go into another layout and go to Edit, Paste in Place, it not only brought in all of the objects, but it also brought in all of the layers that those objects were in. So the layers came along for the ride because Paste Remembers Layers is checked. If it wasn't checked, the objects would have pasted into just layer 1, which was already there in the new document. In the next lesson, we're going to begin to discuss frames and objects.